So, welcome back to the Prescription to Travel MD podcast. So, I've been waiting and just really looking forward to this conversation with our next guest. Whenever I would be at work and talking about traveling and traveling with kids, the next thing out of someone's mouth would always be, you need to follow this account. And so I found Nia, and her husband is actually an ER doc who was working with our group at the time. And he's pretty awesome too. So we'd be at work, handing off at shift change. And then I would see her on Instagram camping and hiking through the forest with 3 small kids, and I was really just in awe. So, I'm sure many can relate. I mean, I call for backup with my older 2 kids when we go to a hotel, so, quite a feat, and I was really just truly wowed by this. Then, by random chance and a meeting through mutual friends, our families were able to get together and have dinner, and we got to meet in person. And she shared all these really fascinating stories, how they were getting ready to embark on this new journey. And I just knew we had to have you on the podcast. So I think there are many of us who love to travel and just have these thoughts about trying something new. And it's people like Nia who not only inspire us, but show us that it's possible to live life on your own terms. So I really appreciate you being with us here on the podcast today, Nia.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm super psyched to be here. Thank you for having me.
So why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
So I'm Nia. I used to live in Las Vegas, but me and my family recently moved to Playa del Carmen in Mexico. And we have 3 kids, an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 3-year-old. My husband is an emergency medicine doctor. And so we decided to shift our life a little bit. He decided to do more the travel doctor gig instead of like a full-time position, just to have a little more freedom and be able to travel. Travel is like our life, and I got bit by the bug and I just can't stop. So before we were doing more short term, I guess for others it's not really short term, but we would travel for like 2 months at a time. But now we're traveling for 6 to 9 months at a time, where he's going back and forth and working for like a week here and there.
Very cool. And you showcase many parts of your life through your Instagram account, which is how I found you, Born a Backpacker.
So I started Born a Backpacker about, I don't know, 7 years ago, when after we had our first child. I was an avid traveler before, backpacking. It was just everything. After college, I actually met my husband in Peace Corps. I did Peace Corps and then just wanted to continue traveling. And so once we had kids, I didn't really want to just stop. It was part of my life. I felt like it was a really important piece of my life and something that I wanted to share with my children. So, yeah, I started my blog 7 years ago. We were traveling in Morocco. My son was 10 months old, and we saw this trek like in the Atlas Mountains, and you go around to different villages, and we did like a village to village trek over a few days. I was carrying him in that little carrier, and we were trekking, and we ran into this couple. I think they were an English couple, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, you have a kid. We have a son just about that age, and we left him at home with the grandparents because we didn't even think we could travel like this with our son. Like, that is so cool." And I was like, "Oh, that's such a shame because this is such a cool thing." And then I remember that same trip, we wanted to do a camel trek in the Sahara. And I remember looking online, like, camel trekking in the Sahara with a 10-month-old, and nothing was coming up, and the only thing that I found was, like, on this forum, like, baby forum or whatever, someone kinda asked a similar question, like, "Hey, we have a 10-month-old and we wanna go camel trekking," and there was just one response from one random person out there that said, "If you wanna take your kid camel trekking, you're such an idiot and a terrible parent," and just all this, like, really negative stuff. I'm like, "Huh, let's at least go there anyway. Let's, like, go to the town and, like, see the desert." And so then we were talking to people in the town, and we're like, "Do you think we can do it, like, with my baby on my back?" And they were like, "Yeah, of course. Let's do it. We're safe." I asked them all, like, the risks and what will happen if anything goes wrong. Will we be able to get back to the town just, like, as a nervous parent? They're like, "Yeah." Like, they put me at ease, and we did it, and I was like, I need to start a blog. I need to show that these kinds of things can happen and be the counter to all those negative voices on the internet, random people telling you you're a bad parent for doing this stuff. So it was that trip when we were in Morocco. I was Like, I have to put it all out there because if I wasn't able to travel, I feel like motherhood would be really, really hard. People feel like they need to give up their passion and because they have kids, and it's the best feeling when people are like, we just met someone 2 days ago, a couple that were traveling in Mexico. They were like, "Oh my god, it's so nice to see you here." We met them out in kayaks in the middle of, like, the lagoon in Bacalar. They were like, "It's so nice to see you guys, like, traveling with your kids and doing it. We've been kinda putting off kids because we didn't think that we could do this stuff." So that's always, like, all the work that goes into this blog, that's what makes it worth it when I hear things like that, because I just wanna help people see that parenting can be whatever you want it to be.
So you mean there weren't, like, 20 other blogs that had people camel trekking with their, 1-year-olds?
Definitely not. At the time, it was, like, very few blogs. Now there's a lot of blogs out there. I should Google it to see if there's other blogs about that, but at the time, 7, 8 years ago, there was absolutely nothing. Just
And you mentioned that it would be difficult to transition to a life of, like, raising kids without being able to travel because your identity was so linked to travel. And I know I've heard stories about your life before kids with the Peace Corps and some of the other things that you did for work. So tell us a little bit about life before Born a Backpacker, just to give us a point of reference.
I didn't leave the country actually until I was 18 years old, so sometimes I look at my kids and I'm like, "We're seeing the Northern Lights in Iceland, and you're, like, 3 years old, and I'm 30-something and seeing it for the first time." So, my parents would take us backpacking and do outdoor adventures a lot and travel more, like, camping within the United States, but never internationally, so I did not the way that my kids did. But I got the itch. I went to college to go to Peace Corps. It's kinda ridiculous, but I was like, "I wanna go to Peace Corps, so I have to go to college first." And then Peace Corps just opened my eyes to a whole new world. I was in Mozambique, and so just being in Sub-Saharan Africa and traveling and, being on the back of a open bed truck and, like, all the I just love the thrill and the adventure, and so after it was just I was broke, I had to make it work, so I started working on a yacht, made some money. I worked for, like, a year and a half, banked a bunch of money, and then went backpacking in Southeast Asia by myself for 6 months, and then ran out of money again, went back on a yacht, and then it was always just trying to piece together ways that I could travel, and so after that, Jamie was going to med school in New York, and so I worked in New York, but I worked for an international organization that worked in Sub-Saharan Africa, so I would travel there, and they'd be like, "Let's send you for a week," and I'd be like, "How about 2 months?" And so I would spend a lot of time working with more of my colleagues in Sub-Saharan Africa, traveling in Zambia and Kenya and Tanzania mostly, and then I did that for about 6 years, 7 years until I had my son, and then I left that job because Jamie was in residency, and it was the part of the job that I loved most was traveling, and it just wouldn't have worked well with Jamie in residency, and so I ended up leaving that and started traveling and started Born a Backpacker, and the most important job, raising my kids. I've been a stay-at-home mom with my kids, and we were traveling so much that we were homeschooling them. We just put them in a school for the first time a few months ago, so it's a whole new world.
I'm sure. So you've got the 3 kids and you're doing everything and you're trying to manage your travel, and now you've got this huge social media following of people who are also inspired by your journey, and what's next for you?
The other questions have been easy. Don't ask me what we're gonna do in the future. Oh my goodness. So the shift, Jamie kind of working here and there, he got a job and I say summer job. When I think summer job, I think of like camp counselor. But Jamie got a summer job so we're moving to the States for the summer, which is really exciting. We're both from New England, so we'll move to New England to see family and be there. But then come September, it's kind of wide open. We're considering coming back here because we really like the school, going somewhere else that's Spanish speaking because we've started getting like a base of knowing Spanish, but we just want to continue it, especially for the kids. Or then like in my I'm a dreamer. So I'm like, we could go to India or we could go to Japan and do like a ski season or we could do this. Kind of realizing Jamie's flexibility and how he can kind of pop in for a week in places has really opened our world up.
Because he was working here in Las Vegas full time, and you guys were here for how long?
So the situation was we moved to Vegas after his residency, and then he worked full time. And then I've been thinking about this conversation recently. It was right after our second daughter was born, after a few years of living in Vegas. And he's like, if I just grind for like 15 years here, we'll be, in a really good spot. And, me and my I need to travel. And I'm like, wait, what? We're just living here and taking weekend vacations every once in a while. It sounds so weird because people dream of living in the suburbs. And I'm not saying this is a bad way to live. It's just for me personally, I just can't picture myself just living in the suburbs. And, it's just so far from who I feel like I am. I can't just stay here for 15 years. And he went into emergency medicine. I assume you have most of your following is in the medical field, so they'll kind of understand the medical part of it. When he went into emergency medicine and when he decided the field that he wanted to go into, part of it was, I heard emergency medicine doctors can travel for 3 months and then work for 3 months or go to Antarctica, and there was all these I don't know, it was kind of the adventure specialty with way more flexibility. And so I reminded him, remember how you wanted to go, why you wanted to go into emergency medicine? Beyond, he's a very good doctor. He really likes emergency medicine and the pace of it. And just there's a passion in emergency medicine too. So I don't want to dismiss that. But it was also the freedom that came with it. But I feel like sometimes you get the paycheck and then you feel like you're in handcuffs and you're like, oh, but we could be so financially stable. Oh, we could have this car, we could have this house. And it's let's get back to our roots and why we started this. So let's live frugally, let's try to figure it out. And so when we got back from that trip, we were just going up for a weekend trip, and that was on the car ride. He asked his boss, well, I guess your boss, if he could do 2 months on, 2 months off. And he was like, yeah, that should work. And so for a few years, then COVID kind of got in the way. But for a few years, he worked 2 months on, 2 months off. So he'd live in Vegas and he'd work in Vegas for 2 months, and then we'd travel for 2 months, and then we'd come back to Vegas. And so that was how it was for a few years until finally we shifted and he left Vegas and has started doing more like a travel doctor type situation.
Yeah, I think many people go into emergency medicine for the flexibility. And I think even when they're thinking about flexibility, they're not necessarily thinking working a couple months and then taking time off, but just knowing that the possibilities are unlimited. And you realize after talking to people that that possibility exists in a lot of different professions as well, but it is something that emergency medicine is known for. A lot of people will do locums, and there's a big push for wilderness medicine and, travel medicine, and people will go work in the Middle East for a few years and, go and work in New Zealand. So there's just all these opportunities for work within our fields and other places. So
Yeah, and it's nice when you go on a trip, you don't have patients in the back of your head, or you're not on call, you don't have to be on your phone. It is very nice that you can kind of shut off because it seems so stressful, but so it's nice that you have that shut off once you leave.
it's still there, but it's not like the patients that you're seeing all the time. You can just kind of shut it off. You go to work and you take care of people while you're there. And then when your time off is your time off. So that's really nice.
Yeah, I don't want to diminish it because I know there's a lot of other baggage that comes with it. And
There is the other baggage, but I think, yeah, that comes with the territory, I guess. I think it's nice that he was able to get back to his roots, because I do think, you get locked in these golden handcuffs of oh yeah, the money's great. And, if I stay here and I just work more shifts, and the more shifts I work, the more money I make. And you lose sight of what you're making money for. The point of money isn't to build up a huge stash in a bank account. That's nice to have, that, security. But the point of money is it's a tool. It's to be used to help you live your life on your terms.
exactly. And he also says on the medical side, he says that not working so much, he's a much better doctor. He just feels like he's refreshed. He comes in and he's happy. I feel like, I don't know, when he was just grinding at first and it just like weighs on you every day, and it's hard to hit refresh. And so he's very happy with that because, yeah, it's probably the most stressful job out there. So
Yeah. And he's always smiling guy anyway. So, but I think he's also like the poster child of what rest and taking time to reset and recharge can do for you as a physician. You can come back and you're not as jaded. You can go and you can see your patients and you're not so quick to be impatient, and you can still have empathy and enjoy going to work and taking care of people and doing what you signed up to do. So you guys are now traveling a little bit more. So when I met you, you were getting ready to embark on this journey to uproot your life once more and move to Mexico. How was that process?
we decided last year, like, okay, this is kind of a lot. Like every 2 months, it's amazing, and I don't wanna sound like a brat, but there's upsides and downsides to every lifestyle. So, while we were traveling, what we were really missing and really craving was community. I feel like that's so important. So, even when we're in Vegas, it's like, "Oh," like, even our friends are like, "I didn't know you were back," and so, like, it was hard to get community even in Vegas because we were in and out and in and out, and then traveling, it's like you're dropping in for such a short amount of time, and it's not enough time to build a community. We've done a pretty good job. We went to, like, world schooling hubs, or we did put the kids in a school in Oaxaca for 2 months, and we made really good friends, and we'd have people over all the time, but that was 2 months and then you leave, and so community was really lacking, and we wanted it for the kids and we wanted it for ourselves, and so moving here, we didn't know what to expect, we were just hoping, and we put the kids in a Waldorf school here, and it's been really nice. The school is very supportive and the kids are very happy there, and then also they do a lot of things to build community among the parents. So they have, like, every Friday, there's coffee. So after you drop the kids off from school, all the parents sit around and they give coffee and chat. And then, we've started text groups. And then so on Saturdays, we all meet, like, I don't know, 50 of us are meeting. We're all playing soccer and the kids are all playing. And yeah, every Wednesday, there's a market. And after the market, we go to the pool or go to the beach. So I just feel very grateful because even in a short amount of time, so we've been here for 4 months, which is kinda crazy. Yeah, I feel like we've built a really good community here, and we felt like, "Okay, we're going from 2 months to 6 months. 6 months is gonna feel like forever," but now we're like, "Oh my god, now there's only 2 more months." Like, that's why we're considering staying longer because we thought, yeah, it just feels like it's flying by.
So the plan was for 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months that we enrolled the kids in school, and then we're leaving kinda when everyone's leaving just because it's school break. It's quite hot in Playa in the summer, so a lot of people leave and go to, like, their parents' house or whatever in different places in Mexico, so
And tell us a little bit about the process. Like, how do you go from, okay, I'm going to move my family to Mexico? What steps did you have to take to get all of your ducks in a row and get yourselves there?
yeah, I guess the first thing that we did was we found the school, and that's how we decided on the place. The school fit for us, and so everything followed that because we just wanted to make sure the kids were happy and in a really supportive environment, especially they don't speak Spanish, and so they're learning Spanish now. We didn't want it to be a traumatic experience. Just throwing them in a school, so that was the most important thing, and then everything followed that, so that's why we moved here. Mexico allows you to be in the country for 180 days, which is 6 months, and we've been in and out of the states and out of the country anyway, so we didn't have to get residency, but a lot of people do get residency if they're planning on staying longer, and we're considering doing that, but it's not something that we did this time. It's just figuring it out, like, you get on a plane, you pack some bags, get on a plane. We had an Airbnb, probably for not enough time to find a house, but we did find a house. We got an Airbnb for like 6 days, met with some real estate agents, found houses, like looked at a couple houses, got bikes, found a car. It's just you kind of talk to people and figure it out. It's not I can't give like a formula, but it's just you got to be scrappy, I guess.
Well, I think that's good advice, though, because I know a lot of people think about doing things like that. And then, even if you have the thought, like, "I could potentially do this," then you're like, "Okay, what next? Like, how do I even make this happen?" So, I think first you have the idea, and then you see other people doing it, and you realize that it's possible, and then you hear stories like this, and you say, "Okay, well, if they did it, they could piece it together. I can do this too."
Yeah, and that's even not even just, like, moving to Mexico. Like, a lot of people write me and, they're going to on a week trip to somewhere and, like, "What do I need to bring, and what do I need to do on the plane, and what do I need to, like, do about this?" And, like, toys and I don't know, like, "What do I pack?" And for me, who's been traveling for the last almost 9 years with kids, it's different every single time. My kids are all different, it's different every single time, and, like, yeah, I kind of know somewhat what to expect, but I just tell people, like, I'm not gonna give you specific toy recommendations all the time or exactly what to bring. You just kinda have to figure it out. Every kid is different, every parent is different, every family is different, every age. If we're going to the same place a year later, it's all different because my kids are different and they're older and
Well, that was gonna be my next question, though. What's a staple for you? Like, what's one thing that you absolutely have to take on every trip when you go at this stage in your life?
After I said, like, I can't give you specific toys or anything, but I do have one thing that is like a safety thing that I'm, like, looking at it right now that I tell everyone to bring is a carbon monoxide, like a portable. You can just buy one from Amazon and it plugs in. Because I don't know, there was, like, a tragic it happens every here and there. In the States, I think there's requirements and regulations, but I don't know about other countries, and I know it just happened in Costa Rica. So it's just, like, such an easy thing to throw in your suitcase, and it's small. They're, like,
They look like plugins, and you can throw it in your suitcase, and
a little plug-in, yeah. So that's, like, a must. I feel like everyone should just have one in their suitcase, but that's, like, the depressing thing. For fun things, if you're traveling with kids, I love the Yoto audiobook players. I don't know if you've heard of those, but those have, like, entertained my kids. They're audiobook players, they come with little cards and they're small. Those have been wonderful. I don't know. The older I get, it's more quality, not quantity. So I'm more into just like buying quality, just clothes and just bringing a few things. That's been my new thing.
yeah, especially if you're going from, like, place to place. So, I know one of your recent trips you went to I can't remember where you were at.
Kyrgyzstan?
Yeah, maybe that's where it was. I just remember it stood out to me because of the reference you guys made to using the Google Translate when you were trying to figure out what to eat from the menu.
I think it was our first day and I think that was Kazakhstan. And we just, using the Google Translate pictures and it just translated dumper in the meats. So he's like, all right, I guess I'll get that, see what comes out. And it ended up being like a shawarma.
Yeah, just like, it all worked out."
And that's what I really wanna tell people, just, like, we do have our ducks in a row, and it's like, "Okay, what's safe?" I'm a very anxious person, and I get really nervous, and that's what people don't know when they follow me. They're like, "Oh, she's just, like, taking your kids anywhere," and, like but I just make sure that, like, we're safe and we know where a hospital is if anything happens or, like, what's the worst thing can happen, what's our exit plan. We always get travel insurance when we travel just in case anything happens. But I also don't have everything, like, totally figured out. Also, things are just, like, up to whatever it is will be kind of thing. Like, in terms of transportation or, like, how it's gonna be or, like, food, we'll figure it out. And I think that some people sometimes expect to have everything, like, know everything and what exactly is going to happen, and so I think just people need to kinda especially traveling with kids, and so I understand that people are stressed, but sometimes I just can't give answers to everything. Just like, "You'll figure it out," or, like, "Try a smaller trip first and go somewhere closer to home and try to figure out, like, what you need and what you don't need."
Yeah, and what a great way to show your kids life in the world, and I love that you guys travel far, but you also do things that are, like, within the US, so you don't have to travel all the way to Asia or to Africa to have an amazing adventure. You were taking the kids up to Washington?
Yeah, yeah, it's funny because like, we've traveled the world, and some of my favorite trips are just within the United States, like road trips. I just being based in Las Vegas, you just have access to so much beauty just a few hours away. But every year, we would drive up, do the road trip up to Washington and spend time in Washington, camping along the way, and just exploring the national parks and stuff in the United States is that's, like, all you need. It's just there's so much beauty and so much to explore.
Yep, you have everything right at your fingertips, so, yeah, you don't even need a passport to be able to take a weekend or take a week or take a month or a few and be able to see something outside of what's just in your backyard, you know?
Yeah, and we would just camp a lot, so it's pretty affordable. I mean, the initial, like, getting a tent and things together is costs money, but then we just camp, and a lot of times we'd camp in free spots on BLM land, and yeah, so we travel very frugally anyway, but that is, like, where I love the dirtbag life. I love being just, like, total dirtbag and having the excuse to jump in a lake instead of, because I don't have a shower.
Like, "It's right here. We're good." Yes. Well, I love making travel more affordable, and I couldn't come on this podcast and not talk about using points for travel, so I do have to ask, do you use points for any of your travels?
Well, not like you. You're like a ninja. You have it, like, so locked in and figured out. We use it, like, on a very basic level. So we have 2 credit cards that we get points. I'm obsessed with Priority Pass that we get free through our Chase Sapphire Reserve card, and I can't live without it. But so how do we use points? We just started, like, taking our points from that we get from like, our credit cards and transferring them to, like, whatever airline or to hotel points. We do get a lot of free travel. We get a lot of free flights and stuff from our points. We don't have, like, 20 cards and, like, going to the Maldives. Where were you? You were in the Maldives.
We did, yeah, yeah. You know, that's the beauty of points, though. Like, you don't have to have, like, 20 cards. You can just have the 2 cards, and you get points, and you just use it sporadically, and even if maybe you have 1 card and you save yourself $3 to $5,000 for the year in travels.
And the amount we save is incredible. I mean, just going especially when we used to travel more, just, like, the amount we'd save using Priority Pass for our family instead of buying airport meals or an $8 coffee, it's just like, okay, we get coffee, we get food, and that would be $100 each time for our family of 5 to eat. So just, like, even the little things, and sometimes people are like, "I can't spend a few $100 on an annual fee." It's just like, yeah, but we spend that on an annual fee, but we probably get $2,000, if not more, from it. And it even, like, a few years ago, Jamie's car broke down. We got a free tow, like the tow truck, and they provide medical insurance for some things and just a lot of random other benefits and you need to use them. You need to, like, make sure that you're taking advantage of it. But I think the money you save outweighs the money that you end up spending if you do it right and you pay your bills and everything.
Yeah, yeah, so the Chase Sapphire Reserve, I think that's probably one of my favorite, like, my keeper cards, and, yeah, it's like a $550 annual fee, but they give you $300 back on travel, so $250 is your fee, and the travel insurance that you can get with it, access to priority lounge. They took away the extra meals at restaurants, but, yeah, you can go into the lounge and feed your family, so Chase was the only card that had, like, the priority pass plus, like, you can go and, like, use it. Or no, you can still do that. So you can still access the lounges, you just can't. It used to come with, like, a restaurant benefit, and that went away.
It's people like me that took advantage of it too much, I think.
But you can still go to the lounge and take in your family and then, like, feed your kids and feed yourself, and then, yeah, you don't have to spend $100 on airport food, every time you go to the airport. That adds up, so
Yeah, and it took a long time because 'cause we've had the card for a while, but we finally used their, like, free global entry, free TSA PreCheck. We didn't have that before.
yeah, and you get global entry for yourself, so now you and all the kids get global entry because that's free.
I mean, that's hundreds of dollars, so
Yeah, and time.
if you're responsible, it's definitely worth it.
It is 100% worth it. Even if you just get the card, if you're not responsible, get the card and do what you need to do. Put the card away and don't use it, you know? So even for, like, the irresponsible, you can still have a credit card and just exercise a little bit of caution and just not use it at all. So you said you have 2 cards, so what else is in your wallet?
And then we have the Capital One Venture card. What do you think of that one?
I'm a big Capital One fan, so the Venture card was the card that I had, like, all through college. It was one of my, like, earliest cards, and I had it for forever, and so I upgraded to the Capital One Venture X last year just to get the lounge access, and they have a few Capital One lounges, and they just opened up one in Las Vegas, so I'm super excited about that, and they have, like, one of the best, like, domestic lounges, so
Oh, okay. I feel like we don't utilize that one as much. We were more reliant on the Chase Sapphire Reserve, but I'll have to look into that one a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll have to chat.
Teach me everything.
Yeah, let's go. So when you guys are traveling and working, I guess how do the kids do with all this?
I feel like what your life is, it's normal. So it's their life. It's actually interesting because we were thinking our oldest son was more the homebody, like more wanted the stability but we've been talking and we wanted them included on the conversations of what should we do? Should we come back here? Do we want to explore somewhere new? And because we were kind of thinking of staying somewhere for a whole year. And he was like, but there's so much in the world. Why would we want to stop for 1 year in one place? We can see so much. And I was like, whoa. First of all, you sound like me. Second of all, that it just surprised me. So I don't know. And the other ones, I feel like they're a little too young. The answer changes every time we ask or a different way we ask the question. So I don't know if they know really. But yeah, I think it was really hard when we first told them that we're moving to Mexico because they really liked the neighborhood that we lived in Las Vegas. And that was really hard for them to leave. And they cried. And it's like, we're going to go to Mexico and you're going to be in a Spanish speaking school. And so that was hard for them at first. But then, like, my son, like 2 weeks later, he was like every morning he'd wake up, do Duolingo to try to learn Spanish. And so, yeah, it's their life. So it's normal. They don't really know anything different. I think they enjoy traveling. Like the other day, my daughter was like, remember when we were sleeping in the yurts in Kyrgyzstan? I want to sleep in a yurt again. And it's just like, when they say that, I'm like, oh my gosh. Because also as a parent, like the mom guilt and am I like screwing my kids up? They're going to be in therapy over this. Like there's always these doubts of like the way that we're raising our kids is wrong or we should do more, we should do less, or we should do no matter what you do. And so there's always that stress. And the schools, it's like we were homeschooling. Are we doing right for our kids homeschooling? And now in this school, it's a Waldorf school. It's a little different. Is this a good school? I don't know. I'm like constantly in my head and just hoping that the way that we're doing it is fine.
I think it's universal because we're here and we haven't traveled, and I probably wish I could travel a little bit more and take my kids and like homeschool them and do all these things. And you realize they're absorbing everything. My kids are all into, they don't know anything about points, but they're all into this points thing and, like everything that I'm doing and like the podcast and travel, and they love to travel. They're into like Duolingo. I was just asking my kid, we're getting ready to plan a trip to France this summer, just my sister and I. But I was like, I don't know any French. Maybe I need to learn some French. And he's telling me, yeah, if you get Duolingo, it'll send you notifications so that way you'll know exactly what to do and when you need to do your lesson. And I'm just like, how do you know these things? So I don't know. I think they're little sponges and they're constantly absorbing everything. And we are doing the best we can. I question because we travel with points. My kids are used to staying in like these luxurious places because I'm like, okay, we can stay here for free, almost free. So they get used to these things and I'm like, am I like ruining them? Because, I grew up, we would drive to Disneyland and we would stay at the motels and those are like the memories that I have. And those are really good times. So are they going to be like ruined for life now because they're going to go and wonder where like the resort pool is every time they go somewhere? But then we go to like smaller places and we do things that aren't as exotic, or we'll go out and we'll go hiking somewhere and you realize they still appreciate all the little things.
That's good. I have that stress too. It's like, yeah, when we're in the airport, they're like, this airport doesn't have a lounge. How are you?
Right.
I didn't even know lounges existed until I was like 31 and like 5 years old. So yeah, that's a stress too, just like giving the world. And I'd give them everything if I knew that they were grateful for it and they would live a very grateful life. And we always try to like drive that in like constantly. We always say what we're grateful for, but it is stressful. It's like, oh, then am I raising entitled kids? And yeah, parenting stuff.
Yeah, I think it's the story of our lives. I don't think that you'll meet a parent that is working within, our professions and who are traveling and who are doing all the things that we're doing who don't have those like same sentiments. I'm sure there are people out there who are like, oh yeah, my kids are going to be great and they're going to be fine. But I'm sure there are so many who can relate to that sentiment. So,
Yeah, for sure.
and the rest of us are looking at you like you're doing amazing things. And wow, I wish I could show my kids these things too. So just know that those of us who are looking from the outside in think that you're doing an amazing job. So keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. But that's also why I wanna share, like, there are, like, stresses. I'm not just, like, sold, like, this is the best way to live. I mean, there's a million ways to live happy and raise kids well, so
We're sad that we lost you here in Las Vegas, but it's nice that we can still follow along in all your travels and keep up with you on all of your socials. So I'm sure there will be other people who will be interested in following along and keeping up with you as well after hearing this episode. Where can they find you?
So, I'm mostly on Instagram, Born a Backpacker, and then I also have a website, www.bornabackpacker.com. So, those are the 2 spots that you can find me most prominently.
If you are on Instagram, make sure that you're following along Born a Backpacker. You'll find her traveling all over the world with her kids, and I occasionally see Jamie pop up. I was like, "Is he gonna pop in today?" But I guess he's out there, like, living his best life.
He actually yeah, he just flew to Austin a few hours ago, so
Well, tell him we said hello, and I hope he enjoys his time there. It's been such a pleasure just talking with you today.
yeah, I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Me too, me too. I didn't know if you were actually gonna come on. I'm like, I know I keep, like, pestering her. I'm like, "Hey, maybe we should do this. Maybe we should." I was like, "I'm gonna reach out just one more time."
Yeah, I'm glad you did. Because I think when you asked before, it was, like, right while we were moving, and it was, like, insane.
Yeah, I know, and I was like, "Maybe they'll get settled," and I was like, "Oh, well, summer's coming, and it looks like they're leaving soon, so maybe I should catch her now." So,
Yeah, perfect timing.
I feel like I often talk about, like, living a life by design and not by default, and it's just nice to see someone who's actually doing that, who's living this. It's just so important that, we don't wait for retirement, we don't wait for later or when we have more time off. I think it's important that we create those moments, we create the time off, we create the time to live life, to enjoy the little things and the big things in life now while we can. So keep doing that and keep showcasing that to the world, and I'll be following along. For anyone who's sitting on the fence, again, needs some motivation to take those big dreams and just start chipping away at them, maybe go and follow along Born a Backpacker. Even if you just wanna go for some really good trip inspo, that's the place to be. And she's a really great photographer as well, so you'll get some really good visuals of all the places that she's seeing, so
Thank you. You're making me blush.
thanks again, everyone. We'll see you next time.